On today's show, the LA Clippers playing against the Phoenix Suns, and everybody and their mother rested in this game, but Bones Hyland was able to have a career high and keep it close. Got some contributions from Brandon Boston and some of the young guys, and we are playing the Dallas Mavericks for a third time. Gonna be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA and in my 19th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper and LA sports content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, where I need you to comment what you thought of the Bones Hyland masterpiece in this game tonight. It was an interesting one. I was actually not able to go to the game tonight because I had some practices to coach. And it was funny because this game ended up being way more important for the Phoenix Suns than it was for us, but it was entertaining and competitive nonetheless. And before we get started, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All you got to do is go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. All right, where to begin in this game? So, second night of a back-to-back against the Phoenix Suns. Our sixth best players were resting in this game. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Ivica Zubac, and Norman Powell. So, it's very clear the Clippers are in rest and relaxation mode. Not necessarily, but just they're resting their guys, getting ready for what's coming up, and that is Luka and crew for a third time. But we'll get into that at the very end. The main thing is Kawhi Leonard missed another game. That is now 6 straight games that he has missed. Both the Suns games, the one against the Cavs, the one against the Jazz, and the one against the Nuggets and Kings. So 6 straight games. We've got 2 games left, and we're gonna need Kawhi Leonard. Now, there's been a lot of debate. Should the Clippers just not play him at all in these last 2 games and rest him for the playoffs because we're so close to getting to the finish line with Kawhi Leonard being healthy? But he's technically out with knee inflammation. I don't really know how serious it is. As I said to you a couple episodes ago, I didn't hear that it was very concerning. Ty Lue was asked before the game, and he said there's no real concern that he's going to miss any of the playoffs so far. So I would like to think that he is okay. But let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you want to see Kawhi Leonard play some minutes in these final 2 games to get some reps? Because technically he hasn't played. Let's say our first game of the playoffs is April 20th or April 21st. He hasn't played in quite some time. He hasn't played really since the game against the Orlando Magic? It was the Charlotte Hornets on March 31st. So it would be 3 weeks, basically, that he hasn't played NBA basketball, and he's playing the most high-intensity basketball that he has played in a year in playoff basketball. So even if it's just for one half, in my opinion, I want to see him play just to see that he's okay because my PTSD is extremely high with Kawhi Leonard and them misdiagnosing his injury or telling us something and then we realize it's much more severe. So I just want to see him play for one half just to know he's in shape. And also, we should just get him playing some NBA basketball for a half or 2 before we start a playoff series against the red-hot Dallas Mavericks. As far as Paul George, he absolutely deserved the rest. James Harden's missed his 2nd straight game now with that foot injury, but apparently I think it's just rest as well. And then Norm Powell, Zoo. We rested Terrence Mann in the second half. And, of course, Russ. At this point, they've played a long season. They've done a lot. Let's just get them to the playoffs healthy because we're so close. We're just 2 games away. And everything we've been working for, everything we've been working towards is for this moment to get the Clippers to the playoffs healthy, particularly Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, who we haven't seen on the court together in the playoffs for 3 years. 3 years. But this game, let's just talk about this game real quick. And it was the Bones Hyland show. And it started right away. And the funniest part is the Phoenix Suns, they're trying to win every game they can. They've had, obviously, an injury-riddled season, disappointing to a degree. They're just trying to get in the playoffs, or at the very least get the 7th seed in the play-in, so they don't have to play too many games. All they got to do is win one game in Phoenix, and they'll be in the playoffs. But they were playing us fully healthy, and they got Nurkic back in this game, and they were just not impressive at all. Bones Hyland was lighting them up. You know, he saw a bunch of different defenders in this game. Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Royce O'Neal, who started over Grayson Allen in this game. And Bones was getting off, getting to the rim, taking advantage of Yusuf Nurkic in drop coverage. Mason Plumlee, who started in place of Ivica Zubac, was in drop coverage for us. But Bones had 15 in the first quarter, and he was the first Clipper with 15 points and 4 assists in the first quarter since CP3 in 2016-17. So how about that for busy Bones? And one thing that was interesting was that when Thaddeus Young came in, he was hedging and recovering on the pick and rolls with Bones. So we had Tyson some short roll situations, and he actually wasn't doing that great in the short roll. And to be honest, this year he's been better about it, but the last couple of games, or not the last couple of games, this game, he kind of fumbled the ball in those short roll situations. We were actually up early on in the game, but Devin Booker finally started to make some shots. At first, it looked like it was going to be a continuation of the game on Tuesday where the Suns just couldn't make anything. And one thing I've noticed is that Frank Vogel is saying that they should shoot more threes, because the beginning of the season, there was a lot of talk about the Suns being a mid-range team, you know, all mid-range with Beal, Booker, and Kevin Durant, and they don't get enough threes up mathematically in today's NBA. So you're clearly seeing more of an emphasis to start to shoot some threes. And in the first quarter of this game, after the first quarter, the score was 28-27 Phoenix. Just wanted to check out their first quarter field goal percentage. So yeah, the Clippers in the first quarter shot 52% from the field and 37.5% from three. The Suns shot 30% from the field and 25% from three, but they got to the line 5 more times than we did. Kevin Durant started the game 1 for 7. 1 for 7 and 0 for 5 from three, and it just felt like these guys were just shooting 3 after 3. Bradley Beal yet again had a silent first half. Silent. He only had 1 field goal attempt after the first quarter. He did have 8 in the first half, so I guess he woke up in the second quarter, but first quarter, there was nothing to say about Bradley Beal. I talked about Tice losing the ball in the short roll. We had some interesting guys playing this game. Kobe Brown got some burn. You had Brandon Boston get 40 minutes. Even Xavier Moon got some time. He got 16 minutes in this game. So we saw some guys that we haven't seen regularly play, and they took advantage of it. They absolutely made the most of it. You saw some good stuff from Kobe Brown. A solid cut. There was one time where he caught the ball on the left wing and attacked a closeout. But as the game went on, you saw in spurts, Phoenix started to show their quality. Their big three started making shots. Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker started to get going. And for us, though, we were able to sustain the scoring because of Bones Hyland, because of Brandon Boston, who was really solid off the bench, attacking closeouts, guarding good players, letting it fly. And one thing you started to see was that Yusuf Nurkic was just food in the pick and roll. There was one move where Bones went between his legs to his left hand, laid it in, and in the first half, the score at halftime was 58-55. 58-55 in favor of the Clippers. Or I'm sorry, 56-55 in favor of the Clippers. And Bones Hyland had 24 points at halftime on 10 for 12 shooting and 4 for 4 from three. I mean, the guy was absolutely electric. Just shows you what he's capable of doing when he gets more burn. And here's the thing about Bones. Had we had him as our backup point guard the whole season like we would have had before Harden, I think he would have had games, not like this necessarily. This was his career high, but a lot of high-scoring games, 20-point games, but also a lot of games where he was bad. And that would have been the inconsistencies that came with Bones being a backup point guard. But I've never heard a team say we didn't win a championship because our backup point guard wasn't good enough. I've heard them say we need to address that we don't have a good enough backup point guard, but I haven't heard them say that that's the main reason they haven't won a championship or they didn't win a championship. Second half, Bones Hyland picked up right where he left off. 2 straight threes in the beginning of the third quarter. But one thing that the Suns started to do was put Mason Plumlee in the pick and roll. And, our point of attack defenders, we did have Terrence, but he didn't play second half. So it was mostly Amir and Brandon Boston. And, they're not elite point of attack guys. You had Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal walking into mid-ranges in the second half. But one thing that was interesting, PJ Tucker, who started again in this game, basically hit 2 straight threes. One was a long 2, then he hit a 3. He actually had 2 threes in the game and was 2 for 2 from deep in the game and shot 80% from the field, 4 for 5. 10 points, 5 boards, an assist and a steal for PJ Tucker in 23 minutes, and he had no turnovers. He actually had the highest plus-minus of any Clipper with a plus 13 in 23 minutes. As far as PJ Tucker playing in the playoffs, I am going to save that for the Dallas preview, not even in this third segment, but in an actual preview, and we're probably going to get multiple on this channel because we now know that we're playing Dallas, and we have about over a week before the series starts. So a lot to talk about. We're obviously going to be collabing with Nick from Locked On Mavs, my boss, our channel manager, so that'll be fun. But before we talk about all things Dallas, got to talk about this game. Brandon Boston and Bones Hyland, they really led the way. They were being aggressive. They're doing a great job attacking, kicking. And Mason Plumlee at one point had 4 straight points. Now, the game kind of changed when we saw the Phoenix Suns go small with KD at the 5. We responded with PJ at the 5, and that's when the Suns started getting into their one-on-one bag. But we ran out of gas in the end. In the fourth quarter, you started to see that the guys that we had playing 40 minutes, Bones and Brandon, they weren't used to playing that many minutes, and they ran out of gas while KD, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal started to get shots going and stamped their authority on the game. And when they're walking into mid-ranges and drop coverage, that's pretty easy for them. KD in the second half had 16 points, Beal in the second half had 14 points, and Booker in the second half had 21 points. So just with those 3 alone, they had 51 points in the half, 69 overall, and they got the win 124-108. But the moral of the story, Bones Hyland, career high, what a game, 37 points, was desperately trying to get 40 at the end, had 9 assists and 3 steals and 4 boards to go along with it, 15 for 29 from the field, 6 for 12 from 3 in 43 minutes. For those that went to the game, hope you enjoyed the Bones show. But coming up, going to be talking about what we saw from Brandon Boston Jr. Was impressed. I got to tell you a little something about Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives and great escapes. Class-exclusive Google built-in is your always updating assistant to call on for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect mid-size crossover for your next adventure. Nissan's incredible lineup also includes the 2024 Nissan Armada. It'll change what you expect from a full-size SUV. Picture a rugged 4x4 that can seat up to 8 in first-class luxury and style, tow bigger and explore further in the 2024 Armada. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. All right, Clippers losing this one, 124-108 at the Staples Center against the Phoenix Suns. We have 2 games left this season. They're both at home against the Utah Jazz on Friday and on Sunday against the Houston Rockets. I will be at both, and those will be our final 2 games. I think we should win them both, finish with a 53-29 record, which will be tied with the 2016 Clippers as the 4th best record in Clipper history. but we shall see. If we win one more game, we're in sole possession of the 5th best record in Clipper history. We stand at 51-29 right now, and the best home record we can finish with is 27-14, which, to be honest, is a little disappointing because we started out the season so well at home, but we just kind of slipped up, especially in March. And you know what's funny is we knew March was going to be a tough month for us before the season even started when we saw the schedule. So third quarter, by the way, we broke even, 37-37. Amir Coffey, who had struggled for a while in the game, he actually had 5 straight to end the quarter with a contested 3 from the right wing and a turnaround. So when you see, obviously, all these players missing games, you start to see our younger guys play with freedom, play with no fear. And Devin Booker even talked about it after the game. When you allow guys that don't really have the leash usually to have a green light, to get shots up, to be aggressive, that's when you can see just how talented those NBA players are. Because the second you give them confidence, you could be in for a dogfight. And that's kind of what the Phoenix Suns were in for. So their defense is just not good. And I mean, I'm not even saying this to hate, even though I don't like the Suns because they're the only team in NBA history to beat us 3 times in a playoff series. I don't think they're more than a first-round team this year. It doesn't look good for them. It feels a lot like last year's Clippers where they've had injuries to their big players the whole season. But even when they play, the difference between them and us is when our guys played, we didn't look that bad. We just couldn't string together any consistency with those guys healthy. The Suns don't look good even when their top 3 players play. And, I got some friends, they love KD. But it doesn't look like these guys are going anywhere. They have 3 guys that do a lot of the same things, shoot mid-range shots or contested pull-ups. They don't get to the rim frequently enough. None of them are fantastic passers. At best, they're good passers. It's very redundant. They don't have elite point of attack defenders. They have no interior defense. They're on the older side. They don't have much depth. We're just a much better team. I wish we were playing Phoenix in the first round because I just don't know. It's going to need Kevin Durant and Devin Booker to average over 25 a game, which is what they do in the regular season, but they need to do that in the playoffs. And Bradley Beal needs to average 20-plus points. This season, Bradley Beal's averaging 18 points. That's not good enough. 18 points, but he's shooting amazing shooting splits, 50, 40, 80. He's just got to shoot the ball more, be more aggressive. I know you're not going to get as many shots with this team, but they got to be more aggressive. KD had 24 points in this game on 10 for 21 shooting, but we held him to 2 for 9 from 3. Bradley Beal had 26 points on 9 for 17 shooting and 4 for 7 from 3, so he actually had a better game. And then Booker, it feels very easy for these guys to score, I will say that. He had 37 points on 13 for 24 shooting and 5 for 12 from 3 in 39 minutes. But Brandon Boston, one of the absolute bright spots of this game. The dude was really aggressive. You saw him attacking closeouts. You saw him guarding the best players in the other team like Devin Booker. Of course, it's not like he did the best job, but he's trying his best. And we've seen that Brandon is not some slouch defender. He's actually going to go out there and try his best and have some defensive possessions where he does affect misses. And he has those long arms to deter people and be somewhat of a presence. But I like the offense. You saw him with a little bit of the classic Brandon Boston isolation stuff, but you also saw him finish strong at the rim. There was one time where Bradley Beal had fallen asleep. I don't remember who he was paying attention to, but Brandon Boston then caught the ball at the foul line for a jumper. So you saw a little bit of everything from Brandon in this game. He finished with 23 points off the bench, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block on 10 for 24 shooting. But he, just like KD, shot 2 for 9 from 3 in 40 minutes. But how about 40 minutes for both he and Bones Hyland? I mean, that's really interesting. Mason Plumlee got 35 minutes, and I actually think, despite the fact that he's not a good defender at all, he had some good moments offensively. There was one time where he had a spin and then passed to Xavier Moon for a floater, had a nice finish around the basket, had a double-double, 12 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal on 4 for 9 shooting, and was 4 for 4 from the foul line in 35 minutes. I already mentioned PJ Tucker. Amir Coffey had 11 points and 5 rebounds on 4 for 13 shooting and 2 for 6 from 3 in 37 minutes. So a lot of this game was Mason, Bones, Amir, and Brandon. Amir was okay. I thought he tried hard. Had some good possessions defending. Kobe Brown, I liked what I saw. Even though he was a minus 30, I liked what I saw. He had this one possession where he defended Bradley Beal really well moving his feet. 4 points for him, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal and a block, no turnovers. There's a high IQ player there. Remember, he spent multiple years in college, so good stuff. Daniel Tice was okay. He did have those 3 turnovers. Bones Hyland had 4 turnovers, and Brandon Boston had 3 turnovers too. So those are the guys that turned the ball over a bit. Mason Plumlee too as well. And those guys were actually all the turnovers we had. Bones, Brandon, Mason, and Tice. And so we lost it 124-108. But moral of the story, Brandon Boston was pretty solid, and the fact that we pushed Phoenix all the way to the end was hilarious. You know, both teams went small, and they had the advantage because they had better isolation guys. Our offense went really stagnant, so we took the L, and it is what it is. The Phoenix Suns needed it. But coming up, this game means nothing. These last 2 games really mean nothing because we know who we're playing in the first round. And coming up, I'm just going to give my initial reaction and thoughts to the fact that we're playing the Dallas Mavericks for the 3rd straight time. Or 3rd time in 5 years. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Go check out the Clippers, Dallas Mavericks, series odds, and you know what you're going to have to bet on. Clippers. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, get your popcorn. Get your, I don't know what you need, your inhalers, your medicine for your blood pressure, but it's going down. We're playing the Dallas Mavericks again. And you know, first of all, before I get into anything basketball related, I was just scrolling on my YouTube feed the other day, yesterday actually, and I see that video I made a week ago about who we'd rather play between the Pels and the Mavs had 8,000 views all of a sudden. And it was about 1,000 views when I posted it. And I look at the comments, and it's all Maverick fans going at my neck. I don't know if my boss, the host of Locked On Mavs, Nick Engstadt, sent them to my channel to bombard me, but it was crazy. They were coming at my neck and saying, how could you come on the air and say these things? Nick is so much better than you, all this stuff. I mean, look, Nick has been doing this for 7 years. I'm a sophomore. He tells me what to do better. So, you know, people are like, your production quality isn't as good. You guys, you Locked On Mavs people, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but you have to understand where we're at in the Locked On Clippers process. Locked On Clippers, when I took over this channel, we didn't even make YouTube videos. We had just the audio for the YouTube channel. You know, the fact that we got a green screen now and I'm making videos every episode, that's come a long way for us. We don't have anything significant like that theme, that your guys' intro music. I've been asking Nick for a better intro song for a year. You know, the Dallas Mavericks, if you Locked On Clippers listeners, go listen to Locked On Mavs' intro. It's so sick. It has like actual commentary from actual games. And like Luka Doncic is in the intro himself. It's the sickest intro of any of the Locked On NBA channels. And then they have the whole Let It Ride with that song. I mean, he's high tech over there. He's been doing it for 7 years. He's a vet. So Locked On Mavs guys coming over here. Sorry to disappoint you. But let me just say this. Everybody was going at my neck, even though my conclusion was that Dallas was going to be a harder matchup. And I acknowledged that you guys have improved. When I say you guys, I mean Dallas, since the trade. That they've been a totally different team since the deadline. I saw on Twitter today, I got to recheck this before I do an actual preview, but I saw on Twitter that the Mavs have the best defensive rating since they've gone with the starting lineup of Kyrie, Luka, Derek Jones, PJ Washington, and Gafford. The best defensive rating in the league. Now, here's the thing. I've actually paid attention closely the last 2 days, to the Dallas Mavericks run in March. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound like a hater. They've been playing great basketball, but they've also had a lot of games against bad teams. And I'm not saying that the Clippers, when they were on a run and their recent stretch of good games, weren't against bad teams either. But, and yes, Mavs fans, I know you beat the Nuggets. I know Kyrie made that shot. I know you beat Houston in 2 important games. I know you beat Sacramento in those 2 important games. I'm not saying you haven't beaten good teams. But I'm saying when we talk about data and you play against, like, for example, Houston is a good team, but their offense isn't good. You played Golden State without Curry. That offense isn't good without him. Utah twice, a tanking Jazz, which we're going to do as well. But the data, do I really think the Dallas Mavericks are the best defensive team in the league? No, I don't, because you're not. No offense. I don't care what the numbers say. But I'll say this from the eye test. Luka and Kyrie are playing better defense this year than last, especially Kyrie. Well, actually, no, especially Luka, because when Kyrie went to the Mavs, he wasn't really dogging it on D, but I think he's taken a step up this year. Luka is playing defense closer to his 2022 self, where the Mavs were a top 10 defense. And then PJ Washington and Derek Lively and Gafford, they give him a level of athleticism that they have not had before. 2 rim rollers and lob threats as bigs, where now it's not just the Mavs are a high pick and roll, live or die by the 3 team. Now, even when Luka's having a rough game, they can actually compete defensively and stay in games. Derrick Jones Jr. has been a part of that. Now PJ Washington, who ideally is a perfect sized guy to guard Kawhi, out there with them and doing a good job defensively as he has this season for them. Here's the thing. Kawhi Leonard playoffs, different ball game. As Dallas Mavericks fans know very well. Luka Doncic, he has a vendetta against us. He wants this so bad. And I really don't know if we can beat this guy 3 times in a row. We beat them in 7 games when he had no co-star. Brunson wasn't the same Brunson. Porzingis, you could say Porzingis, but everything was not as it appeared to be, as we found out later when Porzingis kind of trashed their strategy and the fact that they didn't give him the ball and stuff like that. This has been the most functional situation that Luka's been in. 2022, they finished with a 4 seed, right? But this is the best team he's had. He's got a bona fide co-star in Kyrie Irving. And, people are going to say that 2019 and 2022, the last 2 postseasons that Kyrie Irving has ended healthy, he's not been good. And that's facts. But this is the most functional situation he's been in. He's playing really well. He has a team that's believed in him, a franchise that's paid him. And he's playing with the best offensive player that he's had since LeBron. So when you have the decision of blitzing Luka and throwing 2 at him, now you're potentially having Kyrie Irving against the tilted defense in a 4-on-3 situation, which is completely not ideal. In terms of the strategy of how to guard Luka and all this stuff, there's so much to say, and I'm going to have to say that for another episode, probably the next one. Yeah, definitely the next one. But let's just say this. It's going to be a war. Either Luka Doncic is going to get his revenge and prove that all he needed was help the whole time, and we're going to lose in the first round in an absolute catastrophe of a season, or we are going to own the Mavs, have a 3-0 all-time lead on them in a series where they are going to despise our guts because we are the hurdle they cannot get over, and Kawhi Leonard becomes the most hated man in Dallas because they cannot beat him, and he owns the Mavs, and we'll never hear that Luka owns the Clippers garbage just because he's put up great stats and performed well in losses, which, by the way, the Clippers want him, and at the end of the series, they wanted him to get off and run out of gas because they knew nobody else could beat him on the team. You want to keep running with the Luka owns the Clippers thing, then keep running with it. But if he actually wins, then he'll be proving what Mavs fans said all along. All he needed was help. All he needed was a second star to match us. And the funny part is we still have more stars than they do. But I think every Mavs fan can agree, and I'm going to see it by the trash talking they're going to have in the comments section in the next few weeks. They think that they can win this, and they think they're going to win this. Well, you know what? My head's telling me, by the way, both teams are playing good basketball right now. The Mavs are playing their best basketball, though. We are not. So they're peaking at the right time. We're playing better. We've been in a recent slump, and we're starting to play better. But the Mavs are playing the best basketball they can be playing on both ends of the floor. Luka is having an MVP caliber campaign. I love Kawhi. He's had a great season. He should be all NBA. But Luka's been in MVP discussions. Whoever plays better in the series, that's going to be huge. Kawhi and Luka. Because now it's not just that Luka's going to put up better numbers. Well, he's going to probably put up better numbers, but it's not guaranteed that he's just going to put up more points off the bat because he has no other option. He has Kyrie now. So it's going to be interesting to see how Luka navigates his first playoff series with a true other star. Somebody with a reputation of being a star. A championship. I mean, Kyrie Irving has a championship. So it's going to be an amazing series for the neutral fan. We're going to be having a heart attack. Clippers defense needs to be at another level, but we're going to see how improved that Mavs defense is now. It's going to be one for the ages. There's no excuse for Luka and the Mavs now. Even though we're the higher seed. Well, actually, we don't know yet. That's the one thing that we're remaining to see. But we need to get home court advantage. We need to. Absolutely. It's a must at this point. And it looks like the Denver Nuggets are going to get number 1. Which, again, honestly, that's fitting because they are the best team. And this is what happens when you get the 4 seed. This is why I say 3 seeds, top 3 seeds win. 4th seed, look at this series we're going to have to go through. Right now, it would be a lot better if we got the 3 seed and playing New Orleans now that Ingram hasn't come back yet. I would much rather play New Orleans than this Dallas team right now. Much rather. They don't have the experience. They don't have the Luka. Luka! This is the guy that's driven us to... We were down 2-0. But a lot of that was bad coaching by Ty Lue, letting Zubats over and over again switch on to Luka. There's so much to talk about this series. There's no better place to be than right here on Locked On Clippers or on my personal channel, Dime Dropper, because I'm going to be at all the games and we'll be live after all of them. And, of course, Locked On Mavs, Locked On Clippers, crossovers. This Locked On Network, this is what we do. We're all in on our teams, cover them like no other. This is going to be my first season ever watching all 82 games, all 82 in full. And I'm very proud of myself for that. Didn't go out of town or anything like that. And when I did, I was able to watch. Actually, I didn't go out of town. I didn't miss any games going out of town. Between us getting Harden and his first game against the Knicks, I actually went out of town to Austin to visit one of my college friends. But there was no game between that time. I watched James Harden's first game as a Clipper in the airport in Austin, Texas. But speaking of Texas, Dallas, round 3. My prediction, Clippers in 7. I'm never going to go against my guys. We have more star power. Dallas has a good future. Kyrie's in his prime. They have a good future. I can't imagine what they're going to look like next year. I think their expectation this year was, let's get in the playoffs again, maybe make some noise, maybe win a series, and then we'll see what more we need. For us, this is championship or bust. We need to go all the way. We traded for Harden. We're older. Got to get this done. I'm going with Clippers in 7. I'm going to just say, give me everything you want to say in the comments. Everything. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper and LA sports content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Dallas, Part 3. Give me your series prediction and more. The next episode that's coming out on Friday is going to be all about Dallas. That Utah game means nothing. We're going all in on my reaction to the Mavs, and we're definitely going to do a crossover with Nick at some point of next week. If the Raccoon Squad, the Mavs, Locked On Mavs crowd has come here, get used to getting annoyed with this voice. It's on. Go Clippers. You already know how it is. 2-0. Let's make it 3.